We really want me to start all over again.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, it feels very silly to start from the beginning, but okay, well. Sometimes when I'm falling asleep, there are these questions that well up. Things like, did I remember to turn the oven off? When is that bill actually due? But other times it's things like, who do I want to be? What kind of a world do I want to live in? What's my purpose? What's my legacy? My name is Emily Hunt, and I'm currently campaigning for the UK's first crowd-funded private prosecution of a rapist. In the last 6 months, I've raised over £25,000, and if somebody had given 80 quid today, I could have said 26,000, but we're getting there. I've raised over £25,000 in the last 6 months, and I'm expecting to take my case to trial before the end of the year. I'm also working with Parliament to make sure that it's illegal to video somebody naked without their consent. And usually when I stand on a stage like this and I talk about my story, I talk about things like how if you go one day at a time, one step at a time, you really can do anything, you can achieve anything. Sometimes I tell a funny story about how I have a friend who swears that resilience is spelled E-M-I-L-Y. But today, I want to talk about something a little bit different. I want to talk about legacy, what it is that I want to leave in this world, and how you can help. 8 years ago, I became a mother. It took me a couple of years to get the hang of it. And any of you who are parents might understand, in the beginning, between spit up and feedings and trying to balance work with sleepless nights and childcare worries, I really, I wasn't there yet. I wasn't really able to think about it. I couldn't really think about what I was leaving behind. I couldn't think about what kind of a world I was living for my daughter. But then, slowly, those thoughts started to well up again at night after I started sleeping again. And it just kept running through my head from time to time, late at night. What kind of a world am I leaving for my daughter? It's a funny thing. Legacy is what happens when you leave the world. I think about legacy a bit too much because a couple of years ago I nearly died. And I didn't nearly die from a car accident, or cancer, or even a falling piano. I nearly died because I tried to kill myself, which is something I've never said in public before. And why I nearly tried to kill myself. That's why it's so important to me to change the world, to make a difference, and to ask you to help me do that. See, 3 years ago, I was at lunch with my dad. I was at this complete crazy moment of change in my life. I'd just gotten divorced, I'd just lost my job. I think for most other people, it would have been this moment of absolute terror. But for me, I felt free. I felt this absolute joy and hope at what was coming next. It was literally like every day I was brimming over with that hope that this could possibly be that first day of the rest of my life. I was so excited. And I was sitting there talking with my dad over this great lunch in a local restaurant. And he was telling me about how he wanted me to get married again, have more babies, have an easier life than I had. I told him about this job interview I had the next day, a guy I was going to go on a date with, a lawyer at a bank. Both in one, lawyer and banker. Good job. Dad liked it. I was just so excited. I had this whole world in front of me, and we were talking and talking, or sitting at this table talking, and then nothing. I'm sitting at a table talking with my dad. I think he gets up and goes to the airport, and then nothing. It's a complete blank. 5 hours after that last memory, I woke up cold and naked in a hotel bed. I had no idea where I was or how I got there. Worse, I looked over my bare shoulder, and next to me on the bed was a man I'd never seen before. I was petrified. Absolutely petrified. I realized pretty quickly that I'd probably been drugged, and I found out a few days later that I'd been raped. All that hope, all that joy on that early May day, having lunch with my dad in a local favorite restaurant, all that hope, that version of me died that night in that hotel bed. I don't even really remember the woman I was before that night. She's been gone for so long. Perhaps worse still, I don't even really remember the woman from the days after the rape, the woman who had a naive hope that the police and the justice system would take care of that rapist. The police were called immediately. They had me, they had him, they had the hotel room. But unfortunately, though the police passed the case on to the Crown Prosecution Service with the recommendation to charge, the CPS decided to not prosecute, and that decision nearly broke me. A few months later, when I got my hands on some of the evidence and saw that actually they did have enough to go forward, the police and the CPS honestly just didn't like me enough to go forward with the case. That did break me. And so I went back to that same hotel, the hotel where I woke up naked next to this strange man. I went back to that hotel to die. I had given up. I thought there was no way to recover. I thought there was no way I would ever have hope again. I thought that maybe in death, the CPS and the police would have to rethink how they treat victims of rape. I thought that maybe the only way for me to change the world was to leave it. As I lay dying, there was this last moment thought of my daughter, of leaving her, of what that would mean, leaving her with no legacy, leaving her with nothing to hang on to. Literally, the only thing I would have left was my failure at making the world a better place. And that moment saved me, and I reached out for help. It was this moment of clarity, recognizing that nothing I could do in dying was going to change anything. The police and the CPS, they don't care about me if I'm dead or alive. I realized that the only thing I could do to change the world, the only thing I could do to put pressure on the system, the only thing I could really do was to live and go on and fight. And this is what I need from you. If everyone in this room decided right now that in the next year you're going to make a measurable, positive change in the world, what would you do? I know what I would do. But I'm not asking you to give up your job. I'm not asking you to throw away your career. I'm not asking you to leap out of your chair, unless you know how to fix a mic. I'm not asking you to leap out of your chair and go running off into the world to physically change it. The biggest thing I have learned in the last 6 months, the biggest learning from 6 months of hard work trying to change the criminal justice system in the UK, is that I don't matter. It's the crowd behind me that matters. The person standing in the front could be anyone. What has touched my heart, what has made all of this possible, are the people like you, sitting in rooms listening to me, listening to my story, sharing my story, writing to your MP on my behalf, reaching out, telling me that you're behind me. I've heard from strangers from everywhere who have had a similar experience, or who really just think that violent criminals should be in jail in the UK. 1,099 people have donated to my GoFundMe page. I've raised over £25,000 in amounts from £3 to £1,000 from strangers because I'm trying to change the world, but I'm not doing the changing. It's my supporters who are. It's the supporters who are the ones who are doing everything. So if you want to change the world, because you can, go home. Go on GoFundMe or Crowd Justice, or go look at your local news. Sorry. Go look at your local news. Find someone who's doing something that you believe in, and reach out to them. Let them know that you're with them. Join their newsletter, show them some support, and then spread that message. More than being the change you want to see in the world, spread that change. And with that, the people in this room, even if just a third of us go home and do that tonight, we can change the world. Thank you.